Hey, take a look. Which one is healthier? Most people will choose this one because it says fat-free. But what if I told you that this one actually has twice the sugar? Because food packages are designed to sell you products, not necessarily to help you eat healthier. I'm Dr. Loon. Welcome back to our series, Nutrition 101, Back to Basics. In the next 15 minutes, I will show you exactly how to read a nutrition label like a pro so that you can stop being fooled by marketing and start making smarter choices for your health. And at the end of this video, you'll know the 5 things you should always check before buying any food. Are you ready? Let's go. If you've ever felt confused looking at a nutrition label, know that you are not alone. But once you know what matters, reading nutrition labels becomes very simple. So let's break it down step by step. First, let's consider serving size. Many people skip this step not knowing that it affects all the parts of the nutrition label. Let's take a closer look. For example, I have here a jar of peanut butter. By the way, this is not to promote or to sponsor a particular brand. This is only for education. So I'm reading here, serving size 2 tablespoons. And I have measured for you using a tablespoon measurement, 2 tablespoons. This is what 2 tablespoons look like. So according to this label, there are 23 servings in this jar. So therefore, there are 23 times this amount. And just like we told you earlier, every single information on that label has to do with this. Not the 23 serving, but that one serving, 2 tablespoons. Let's give an example. For example, again, per this label, each serving provides 190 calories. That means if you decide to eat or use 3 times that serving, which will be 6 tablespoons, you will be consuming instead 570 calories. So you see how this has changed everything. And this change is true whether or not it is total fat, cholesterol, sodium, total carbohydrate, protein, or anything else. So that's why it is important for you to know what serving size are you dealing with. The next thing to check is macronutrients as they provide the calories. First, let's start with fat. Fat is not the enemy, but the type of fat that matters. Total fat includes good and not so good fats. And for example, polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats, they are good fat, but they are not required to be reported. But under total fat, you should see saturated fat. It's best if it is 2 grams or less. And the second fat that will be reported is trans fat. And that one, it needs to be 0 gram. And understand that trans fat, this is the type of fat that will likely increase your bad cholesterol, LDL. And even though when it is a 0 gram, it does not mean that there's no trans fat. It simply means that there is less than 0.5 gram per serving. The best way to know is to check the ingredients list, and we'll get there. Another thing on the fat to consider is cholesterol. Now, again, cholesterol is not that bad. As a matter of fact, our own body makes cholesterol. And whenever you see a product has cholesterol listed, most likely some animal ingredients have been used. But what you need to consider is that that number for cholesterol should be less than 20 milligram per serving. Otherwise, this will be considered as having too much cholesterol. Now, what about carbohydrates? Again, carbohydrates, when we read, it says total carbohydrates. That means there are more than one type of carbohydrates. So they all combine to give you the total number. The first thing here is dietary fiber. As you know, this is a good carb, and this one should be high because a fiber helps manage your cholesterol and your blood sugar. Second type of carbohydrate is total sugars, and which also include natural sugars like lactose in milk or fructose in fruit. Other type of sugar is added sugars, which we found in corn syrup, sugar cane, honey, and also there are sugar alcohol, sweeteners like sorbitol. And these sugars, they do contribute to the total calories that you will consume from that product. But unfortunately, usually they have almost no nutrients. And one thing to remember, it's a good idea to have dietary fiber high, but to keep the added sugars less than 10%. So now let's see about protein. As for protein, you need to ask yourself, what is my dietary goal? And you know that the amount of daily protein you need depends on many factors. For example, do you have any health conditions that requires you to eat more protein or to limit your protein? Also, do you want to lose weight or build muscles? So many factors. Just check our last video on protein and decide which way to go. But one thing that we all need to remember is that foods with good protein content are often more filling. That means you will eat less because you will feel more satisfied, and therefore your blood sugar will be more stable. Now that we are done with the macronutrients, let's see another check that you need to make. It's about sodium. As you know, too much sodium can increase the risk of high blood pressure. Many processed foods surprisingly contain high amounts of sodium. But a good rule of thumb is that if a food has more than 20% daily value of sodium, it is considered high. And now that we have mentioned daily value, what is that? Daily value, as you can see to the far right of the label, these percentages tell you how much a nutrient contributes to your daily recommended intake. A simple way to understand that is that 5% or less is low, while 20% or more is high. For example, you want your foods to be high in fiber, while they need to be low, that means 5% or less in sodium and added sugars. A good thing about daily or percent daily value is that not only they help you to understand the food that you are looking at the label, but also they allow you to compare across products, especially similar products. So this will help you make better choices. And finally, you should always check the ingredient list. Why? Because this is the truth about the food. Ingredients are listed from highest amount to lowest amount. So the first few ingredients tell you what the food is mostly made of. For example, if the first ingredient is sugar, that product is mostly sugar. But if the first ingredient is whole grain, you know for sure that that product is better because it's a whole different story. This is telling you that that product on hand is something that is full with nutrients. And also, one thing that you need to understand is that the long names or the words that you cannot pronounce or you cannot comprehend, they are clues that your food is highly processed. And remember, I told you about trans fat, that you need to check out the ingredients list? Yes, indeed. If you see words like processed or partially or fully hydrogenated oils, you know that you have trans fat in there. And in general, remember, foods with simpler ingredient lists tend to be less processed. So let's consider that. If we look at a nutrition label, understand this is something, it is there for you and it is very intentional. In today's life, the illnesses or diseases that are killing us, they are primarily from cardiovascular origin. So, meaning high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, obesity, and all of them under the umbrella of metabolic syndrome. But when you pay attention to this label, you can see that it is a very intentional at addressing these issues so that you can make informed choices to either prevent or manage those conditions. So now let's recap. Before buying a food product, remember these 5 quick checks. Look at the serving size, check the calories, review the macronutrients, watch the sodium and the added sugars, read and read the ingredient list. These 5 steps can help you make much smarter choices at the grocery store. Remember, our aim, this is not to tell you what to buy or not to buy, but this is to bring awareness so that you can make informed choices. And as you see, if you practice those 5 steps, reading nutrition labels will become easier and easier every day for you, and you will be able to make better choices. In the next video of our Nutrition 101 Back to Basics, we will talk about something very important: how product marketing tricks you into thinking products are healthy. And once you discover and understand that, you will never look at grocery store shelves the same way again. And if today's video was helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else so they too can make informed decisions. Until then, I pray that you experience total health in your body, soul, and spirit. Shalom.